Hi, Nick here from KORG at the 2018 NAMM show in Anaheim, California for Synth Anatomy. We're checking out the KORG Prologue, which is the latest in KORG's analog synth lineup. It follows in the footsteps of Minilogue and Monologue and adds a whole lot of features which make this an incredible performance analog synthesizer. This is the Prologue 16, which has 61 full-size keys and 16 voices. There's also the Prologue 8, which is 8 voices and 49 full-size keys. Some of the features that make Prologue an incredible expansion to the analog lineup of KORG include the VCOs, fully analog voltage-controlled oscillators, 2 per voice, which made Monologue and Minilogue such powerful analog synthesizers. But the addition of a new multi-engine as the 3rd oscillator per voice really creates a sound repertoire for Prologue that is completely beyond what any other analog synthesizer out on the market can do.
Can we talk a bit about the multi-engine? What are the limits, or where do you think this goes with third-party developers?
So the multi-engine has 3 separate modes. First is a noise mode, which has your typical white noise, pink noise, all the way up to digital noise, which when you use the shape knob, you can actually bit crush that noise, and that's great for percussive effects. And then there's VPM, which is a variable phase modulation, which is basically all of your digital waveforms, so your FM, DX7 type waveforms, vintage waveforms from the 80s. You even have analog style waveforms, so if you really want 3 saw waves per voice, you can do that. 3 oscillators all on a saw wave, square wave, etc. And then the user section, by default, out of the box, it comes with a morphing wavetable oscillator, which is a super powerful wavetable oscillator. But the multi-engine really shines when you use the SDK, which will be available after launch, to code your own oscillator. So if you know a little bit of code, or if you know somebody who knows a little bit of code, you can actually code your own oscillators using the Prologue SDK, which will be available, and have up to 16 slots custom oscillators.
So KORG doesn't offer a special editor to putting some own waveforms in it?
So the SDK is going to be available. So it does require a little bit of technical knowledge, and I think if you're using a Prologue, you're probably pretty well versed on your tech.
So basically you don't offer something like an editor where you can put some single circle waveforms in it and then put it in the...
Well, we actually offer with all of our analog synths, Minilogue and Monologue, we have the editor librarian software. So that can be used to back up your patches and organize patches in both the... and that will be available for Prologue as well.
So I think, I mean that you offer the same with this librarian, but with waveforms.
Well, that we haven't announced yet whether that will be available.
Okay. Then we have LFOs, envelopes.
Yes, you have 2 ADSR envelopes, very standard attack, decay, sustain, release. An LFO with 3 modes. One is BPM mode, which syncs to tempo internal or incoming. Slow mode, which is a standard LFO speed for a synth, and then a fast mode, which you can crank all the way up into the audio rate range. Over here we have voice modes, some of the most popular voice modes from the KORG Minilogue, polyphonic of course, a monophonic voice mode, a unison mode where you can use the voice mode depth knob to detune multiple oscillators against each other for absolutely huge unison sounds, and of course a chord mode where you can select and choose the chord using the voice mode depth knob. There's voice spread, which you'll recall from some classic 80s polysynths, spreads the analog voices in the stereo image of Prologue. And then on the other end here we have the effects section, and these are 24-bit floating point DSP stereo effects, one of which is a mod engine, and that can be, check out the screen here, an ensemble, kind of like your original KORG Poly6, a phaser, flanger, or chorus, and each of those effect types has different algorithms that can be accessed by a menu, and the mod effects is actually also open source. So using the SDK, you'll be able to code your own effects, or if you find effects that you like online, you can load those on. And then, of course, the delay reverb engine, and delays can be anything from simple stereo delays to mono and even tape delays.
So it will be possible that somebody develop a shimmer reverb or a granular delay or something like this?
I suppose the only limit to what you develop is your imagination.
And we are not talking about the filter. Is there a new developed filter, or is it from one of the old mini-log or monologue?
It's a completely newly voiced filter. It's a 2-pole, 12 dB per octave analog resonant low-pass filter, taking some of the powerful low end, even when you crank the resonance, from the monologue, but it's got a very gentle sound to it, so it's very nice for polyphonic play, kind of like Minilog's filter. So it really is the best of both worlds. We've added, a low cut switch and then a drive knob here that drives the signal going into the filter, so you can get a little bit of extra oomph out of it. And of course key tracking, so you can play the filter in self-oscillation.
And you have here also a compressor on the big one?
There is a LF comp, which is a low frequency compressor that's only available on Prologue 16, and that has its own analog drive gain stage. And then you turn it on, and this is actually post-master, so you're compressing your entire signal, both timbres. Another cool thing about Prologue is that it is multi-timbral. You can do splits and layers and crossfades across the key bed. And if I play a very bassy sound, you can actually see the needle moving with the gain reduction. So that's causing gain reduction on that fully analog compressor over there. And then I turn it off, and that's bypassed. So that's going to really be great for your live players. It's going to save your front of house guys some trouble having to throw a compressor on your signal, because you're really bringing power to your low end without sacrificing your dynamic range.
So basically this is the main difference between the 49 and 61, the compressor.
Well, aside from 8 voices for the 49 key and 16 voices for the 61 key, the LF comp is only available on the 16. There's also a couple front panel controls that are handled within menus, but as far as the synth engine, you have really all of the same sound shaping abilities, effects.
The keybed is a new one? Also
the keybed is a synth action. It's very, very smooth. Feels really, really nice. It's similar to the one on the KORG Kronos 61.
And from the inputs, outputs, there.
So you have, on this side, you have damper and expression pedal inputs, MIDI in and out 5-pin, but it'll also do USB MIDI, and all of the parameters, just like on Minilog and Monologue, are mappable to MIDI CCs, so if you want to use your computer to automate, you can do that. There's also a analog sync I/O for tempo for the arpeggiator, and a headphone, and then a pair of left-right 1/4-inch outputs.
So it will be when available, and the price?
It will be available very, very soon. And the US price for the 8 voice is $14.99, and the US price for the 16 voice is $19.99.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.